Okay, hello. I'm gonna do a little bit different of a reading today. I'm gonna try to scry a bit first. I think today's the 7th. Okay. I'm gonna try to go slower today and not rush through it. Just go through the whole process like I usually do. Okay. Okay, getting blockade. Rush around. I don't know if you can see what I'm divert. I'm getting an image of like ants walking a line, and then there's like a big rock, and so they rush around it. But it feels a little panicked. I'm getting a shape like I'm getting a shape like this. So let's see what happens. I'm gonna do a card pull today since I did runes yesterday. Or a spread, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Feeling a little cramped over here. So we have the Empress in the Desire position, the High Priestess in the obstacle slash it's not really much of an obstacle, but an opportunity for growth position, and then the Tower and the outcome. So, you know, the Empress is very much divine, feminine energy. And I'm not talking about body parts here, just energy. Very relaxed, moving at her own pace. She's in a lushful garden here. It looks like maybe she's reading. Really taking her time and flowing. Now, with the High Priestess and the opportunity for growth position, this is major healing. I love this card because it shows the patchwork between the two. It's not one side's just light and one side's just dark. You have dark and light on both sides. So maybe it's some shadow integration, some healing that's coming up. And the Tower kind of came out in the rune pool yesterday with Hagalas. But things are not as they seem. So walls being taken down for something new to be rebuilt. Let's do this deck here. What is that? It's like chalk or something. Okay. Take a drink. Slow down. They keep telling me slow down. Oops. That one wants to stick. Okay, 3 of Cups, 5 of Pentacles, 10 of Swords, 6 of Pentacles, King of Swords, 9 of Swords, Knight of Swords, lots of earth. So, let me move this over here. So with the 3 of Cups in this situation, I'm not going to necessarily name every single position. It's a typical Celtic cross. Desire for community, harmony, friendship. I got kinship as well. And then crossing that is 5 of Pentacles. So feeling outside of that, maybe not necessarily feeling. I'm gonna try my best to say we instead of you or me. So maybe we're feeling outside, on the outside. It's not really fitting. Maybe it looks like from out here that everyone else is having fun and we're out in the cold. As for the foundation cards, 10 of Swords is pretty heavy. A lot of shadow work, a lot of deep diving, sinking all the way to the bottom. And with the 6 of Pentacles here, to me that's an imbalance. I really like the traditional artwork on this card because even though he's holding the scales, you can see through the pentacles that it's not balanced. There's an even number of pentacles, but he's still giving to the one that has 3 already. So there's something that we're not paying attention to over here, that we're not putting energy into over here, that we're missing. Okay, with King of Swords, this can be a very stoic, strong tongue person in the way that they speak, maybe not very kind, but that maybe their volume and their tone's not kind, but that doesn't mean that they're not. And it could be that maybe when we try to join a group or put ourselves out there, we feel like we're immediately like cut off by this sharp, king, a masculine energy. Again, not body parts, just energy. Or we're kind of met with a block, some intimidation. Maybe it's not that the person intends to block, maybe it's something within us that we feel intimidated and shy away. With Nine of Swords over here, it feels a little bit like a step back because we already had the Ten of Swords. So healing isn't, it's not a perfect staircase. Sometimes we go backwards, even when we don't mean to. We get in our heads. We remember the past, all that we just went through, and it can affect us. It can affect us mentally. So it can feel like it's a step back, and maybe it is a little bit, but that's okay. It's not. It's all about the journey. It's not about some ideal of perfection or how the journey should be. With the Knight of Swords here, it can also be quick fix, quick opportunity is what I was going to say. So maybe it's, maybe that's the step back, is thinking mentally, going back to quick fixes instead of, oh, sorry, has this been shaking the whole time? Instead of continuing to move forward, it can feel, when you're doing something different, it can feel like you're doing the wrong thing compared to others. And that would be a step back, to jump back to a quick fix, to turn around and go backwards. Most of the knights, from my memory, face to the right, and the swords is facing to the left. However, in the environment, there's a Ten of Cups. So if there's something that we're stressed about, maybe the future of our family, of the home space, it's going to work out. It's already worked out. We already have everything that we need. Maybe we want more. Maybe we feel that we need more because we were taught to always strive for more. However, currently we have everything that we need right now. And that's usually, that's, I know it's hard because I struggle with it too, finding peace and relaxing in what you have right now. Hope and fear position, the Empress comes out again. The Empress does a lot of self-care. She does not stress nor falter. When things get hard, she pours into herself. Okay, whether it's reading a book in a garden, taking some time for herself, knowing when to rest as opposed to forging ahead or making drastic decisions that end up pulling us back a step. An outcome here, Knight of Pentacles, Page of Swords, Three of Pentacles. So it feels like very like two magnets repelling each other energy, that there is some abundance. Pentacles are typically finance, but it could be a gift that maybe one would not typically see value in, but there is value. And with the Page of Swords, it could be a rigid mindset that wants to block that, off. And Three of Pentacles, is teamwork. So something might be a little different than what we planned or what we're used to, but it takes community to start something new. So lack of resources, rely on your community around you. Which now my question is, but in the beginning we don't feel that we have a community. Well, on the outside looking in, you'll find a community. It could be too some intimidation with this King of Swords, and what looks like a king is actually a page. That maybe they're just testing you, trying to see what you're about before they let you in. But oh, I did it again. I said you before they let us in. But we're going to be in. It's going to be different than what we're used to, and it's going to be different than what maybe we're dreaming about, but it's going to be exactly what we need. Okay, now I'm going to pull some what I would call advice when we're in this Nine of Swords, this feeling intimidated, getting in our head a bit about it. So what advice can we put in our bags to reflect on when we're in those moments to pull us out? I'm feeling a little frantic. I'm feeling rushed and stressed, like maybe we feel like we don't have time, but we do. See? Slow down. Time and nature, that Empress energy again. The divine side of Empress energy, the light side, pulse of the mother, flow of nature. I started this year seeding some plants, and they're growing very nicely, and they're teaching me that things take time, and you can plant two of the same plant. I have two moonflower plants, and one's growing faster than the other, but that doesn't mean one's better than the other. They just move at their own pace, and they're both equally as strong and equally as vibrant. So we can learn from nature that even if you're looking at the same plants, they're still unique. Not every plant is the same. Forge, don't follow, pave a new path, be the leader you wish you had. So when it feels that we don't know what we're doing, we're stuck, what's the point in doing this? I need to go back and do what I used to do, go back to old ways. That remember that you're forging a new path. You're being who child you, or we're being who child or our who our inner children wanted to be, and helping to pave the way for next generations and inspire them to pave their own way too. Surrender to the sweetness. Venus energy, pleasure, joy, make love to life. So finding joy in every moment. I had a yogi tea last night that said something like, Um, Love is measured by the moments of joy that you felt throughout the day. So, joy can be small. It can be loving a new teapot that you bought, or lighting a candle um, for yourself, going outside and listening to the birds, things like this. I did want to do a tea reading too, but I got to drink and stop talking. Um, let's see. I'm seeing here too, you know, the it's dark. It's hard to see through the thick mist, through the density here. But there's all this beauty and new land to be found over here. All this life. Return what you said and think will go back to you. So when we put out, I don't want this to turn into um, denying negative feelings, because we all have them. It's just trying to pull yourself out of it. And when you keep telling yourself, I'm paving a new way, it flips it. Like, look at this image, how it's the same. It just flips it. Okay. Everything has polarity. So trying to help your neuroplasticity flip to the other side of the polarity of the swords energy. Okay. Sorry, I'm a little shaky. I've not eaten yet. Probably should have done that, but oh well. Okay. Shark, be fearless. Sharks swim through looking for food. They swim around in the ocean watching for predators. They're always aware of where they're going, and they're not afraid to keep going. They just keep their eyes open and embrace where they're at. Up to you how the blank will go. Always, to me, I always feel like, why can't you just tell me? Why can't you just tell me what to do? But you already know what to do. It's in your heart. It's up to you how you do it. Kind of like me doing this. I didn't really want to be just another tarot reader on the internet, but I'm still figuring out what to do with my gifts, and what I'm interested in. Let's see. Serve, to give freely from the heart. Um, so part of paving a new way is thinking of others. How is this going to help others? How is this going to help teach others and inspire others? And I'm right here in this because that's something that I think about a lot too, is, well, what do I do now? How do I manifest this? How do I turn this into something? And I really just found that I just have to get started. It'll just happen on the journey. Watchful, pay attention. So that kind of came with the shark, of watching where you're going, not just watching where we're going, not just when I walk, I tend to look at the ground. I've always been like that. And we got to straighten our backs and look up and look around. It is important to know where you're stepping so you don't trip, of course, but we miss a lot. Um, I was porch sitting with my mom the other day, and she saw a shape in the clouds that was a sign. I knew it was a sign for me, and I was looking the other way, laying on my front reading a book. And I said, "Oh, well, I'm always looking the wrong way and doing something else when the signs come. I must need to walk backwards." Well, of course, don't walk backwards, but it's a shift in perspective, right? Just a slight shift in what we already do. So let me see if I can drink this down. You know, it's interesting. I usually hold my cup with my right hand, so I'm already shifting in perspective. It's a little finely ground, so it's hard to drink without getting dirt. Gross. Okay. I see almost like a face there. It's like a winking eye and a smile. Now this a little bit to me looks like a dinosaur. The big one in the middle with this like little feet on the bottom, and it might be missing the top of his head, but it's like mouth up there at the top, little arms. I guess it could be a chicken. What's this? What would be standing on a chicken? I don't know. Well, I know that I feel like a chicken. I'm very scared, get very nervous, I get very much in my head before I do new things, and even after I overthink what I've done and think, oh, maybe I should have worded it this way. I should have said this, and well, the watchful could be, sometimes chickens when they get scared, they run around and they don't really pay attention to where they're going. And this image above the chicken could very much be, your spirit guide. Our spirit guides are always with us. Um, every morning when I drink my coffee, I call in my spirit guide and establish the connection for the day, and check in periodically throughout the day. And sometimes I'll feel her dancing around me, and that's how I know that she's trying to remind me to absorb the moment, find joy in the moment. Um, so yeah, and this little silly face, it's winking. It's almost like a tongue sticking out down there. So we're being reminded to have some fun, get a little silly, not too silly. Watch where you're going, and be careful. But finding, I suppose, the balance between that, right? All right, that's about all that I got. Thank you for watching.